Victoria. I live in Kansas City, Missouri.
Can you tell us how heart disease has touched your life or someone that you know?
Yes, I had open heart surgery this January, so just almost nearly 10 months ago. It was emergency. I thought I was having a panic attack. Not that I normally have panic attacks, but I had no other explanation for how I was feeling. I was very emotional at the time, so I just thought my body was overloading and it's making me have a panic attack. So I actually was about 7 miles from home, probably about a 20-minute drive from home. I, was trying to breathe, but my body just was shutting down. My chest really hurt. I couldn't breathe. I thought, oh, maybe I need to go sit up, walk. Couldn't really walk, so that wasn't helping. And got back in my car and called my mother and said, I think I'm having this panic attack, and just talked to her for about an hour. Then I called my best friend, who is a doctor. She's a hospitalist. And, I said, I don't know, I think maybe, am I having a panic attack? Am I having a heart attack? And she said, Victoria, you're 42, you don't smoke, you're not overweight, I really don't think you have this, any of the whatever conditions or whatever to have a heart attack. So, she's like, I don't think so. You're probably having a heart attack. You're probably having a panic attack. You're just really upset. I've had a lot of things going on in my life at the time. And anyway, so I kind of calmed down enough to be able to drive these, 20 minutes home, which in retrospect is crazy. But anyway, I went home and told my husband I just wasn't feeling well. And so he said, well, just go rest. And I tried to rest for about 2 hours. And I just never could get comfortable. The pain in my chest was just getting worse. And I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep. And about this time, it was about 10 o'clock at night. So I, we went to the emergency room. I said, I need to go to the hospital. And my husband's like, oh, why do you need to go to the hospital? You're just having a panic attack. You don't need to go to the hospital. And, mind you, we've known each other 13 years. I've never once said I need to go to the hospital except to give birth to our children. So it wasn't like, some people go to the hospital a lot. I don't. Anyway, so I got there and, I'd been there for a couple hours. And I remember at one time, even the emergency room physician said, you'll probably be going home in a couple hours. So I sent my husband home because he had our, 2 little girls. At the time, they were 7 and 4 years old. So I said, just go home. I'll probably get home, be able to get home, and I'll just take a taxi. And anyway, time started slipping away from me at that point. I was on a lot of pain medicine. And I remember at one point a doctor came in and said, well, your liver levels, whatever it's called, are, looking odd. So we'll probably admit you so we could figure out what's going on. Oh, no, my kidney. Your kidney, something's wrong, so we'll keep you here. So, okay. Still, not thinking of anything. Well, anyway, later, hours go by. And finally, I remember this doctor touching me and, really sweetly and said, we found it in your records. We found your valve. We know what's going on. So then it clicked in my head. I have a congenital heart defect. I have a bicuspid aortic valve instead of a tricuspid aortic valve. And I stopped monitoring it 8 years ago because there was never any reason to monitor it in my head. And no doctor ever explained that anything could ever happen. So what was happening was my aorta was aneurysed and it dissected. So I was dying, and I had no idea. I thought I was having a panic attack, and I was dying. If I had stayed home, I would be dead. And so, I was in the emergency room for, I think, about 14 hours, and finally, a heart surgeon came to me and said, you're going to have open heart surgery today, and you have a 25 to 50% chance of surviving this surgery. And if you do survive, you might have a stroke on the table and die from that, or you may be paralyzed. And I said, well, then I won't have the surgery because those are horrible odds. And, I'm an accountant. So I said, well, I'm not going to have the surgery because that's terrible odds, and I'm not going to do that. He's like, you don't understand. You cannot survive this condition right now. So, I looked at my husband, and he couldn't believe it. couldn't believe it. He said, I'm so sorry. Like, I thought you were having a panic attack and I'm so sorry. And I called my daughter at school, who was 7 at the time, just to tell her, I love you and I have to have an operation and, I just love you. But I didn't want to tell her, Mommy might die today. And I didn't call my other daughter because I just thought she was too young. And that's like my one regret of the day. But I called, my family, my mother and my father and my sister. I told them and they couldn't believe it. They knew I was in the emergency room, but they couldn't believe that, who has open heart surgery? I was 42 years old. I don't smoke. I hardly drink. I'm a vegetarian. I exercise regularly. So it's like, you would never think. And still they said, with my congenital heart condition, aortic dissections do happen, but still more to like 60-year-old men, not 42-year-old women. So it was so hard for them to figure out what was happening to me. And my surgeon, my cardiothoracic surgeon, said, you're so lucky that you survived all this time in the emergency room. I mean, no one expected that I would even, after everything happened, after I had my surgery and I was recovered, they said, you're really lucky you survived all that time because most people would die. So, it's still like crazy for me to say, like 10 months ago I had open heart surgery. I still, it's still like really hard to believe that that's true, but it's true. But anyway, so that's my story.
How has that affected you emotionally?
A lot of ways, I guess. It's weird. Like, I know people say, like, when bad things happen to you, you kind of, like, are happy that it happened to you because it makes your life better. That being said, like, I do feel in a lot of ways my life is better. I don't know if I would still want to go through this if I could choose, but honestly, like, I feel so much more present in life because I know it can go at any moment. But because I know it can go at any moment, I do have anxiety because of that. Like last night, I woke up after being asleep for 2 hours and I thought something bad was happening, and I had to take some anxiety medicine. But like I said, I am more present and I do generally feel happier in life and in some ways also calmer, even though I do have the anxiety, but I do feel calmer because I meditate now and, I just try to do more things to benefit my health, and that helps, so that changes my emotional state.
Considering that heart disease kills more women than cancer, why do you think that women aren't talking about heart disease more?
I think they don't know. Just like I didn't know. I mean, growing up, probably when I was 10 years old, I knew that I had this heart murmur, and I knew that there was this bicuspid valve, but I didn't really know what that meant. And, I was 10, and my mother didn't really know what that meant either, because when she came here after my surgery, I said, Mom, did you have any idea this could have happened? Like, was it, did I miss something? Like, what did I do wrong? Because that's what I was trying to figure out. How did I miss this? Like, because I do take care of myself. I go to my doctors, and she said, no, I never knew. Like, they never said that to us, all that time. And then, even like I said, when I was pregnant with my first daughter 8 years ago, I told my cardiologist or my OB that, I had this heart murmur. And so she said, well, go get an echo. So we just make sure that nothing happens, when you're going to have your baby. And, I got this report sent to me in the mail that I didn't really understand. And she didn't really understand it either because she's a gynecologist. But I looked back at it after I had my surgery, and even then, my aorta was slightly enlarged. It, probably wouldn't have been enlarged enough to have surgery at that point, but I probably should have been on medicine, and I should have been being monitored every year. But I had no idea, and even, like I said, my gynecologist, like she didn't understand. And, I just wish someone from that, would have called me and said, you really need to follow up with this, just in case you don't understand what this means. But I think women don't know. You just hear so much about cancer, and and it's devastating, all these, cancer, obviously, but people have no idea how devastating you can be living with this ticking time bomb, and you have no idea.
What do you hope other women will gain by hearing your story?
I hope they just get some knowledge, because, really knowledge is power. And if someone had said to me, I had this congenital heart defect of this valve and I almost died because of it, it would have woken me up. I would have said, oh my gosh, I have that. I better get to the doctor and get checked out. I just thought it was really nothing. I thought I was wasting my time going and getting these tests as a child. And then even, when I was pregnant, I thought it was just such a waste of time because nothing ever came out of it. I didn't understand. No one explained it to me in terms of, this could cause you to have a life-threatening condition. I mean, it was a fatal condition that I had if it hadn't been fixed. I had no idea.
You touched on some of the changes that you've made since having your open heart surgery. What are some additional changes you've made in your life?
Well, both of my daughters have gone to the cardiologist. As I said, because mine is a congenital defect, I wanted to make sure that they don't have a congenital heart defect. My youngest daughter does have a heart murmur. So I had been, monitoring that. But again, just because I thought my condition was nothing, I, took her back a few months after my surgery and had her checked out again. And I've been reassured that, hers is very different. It's not, it's just more of the regurgitation. So she's fine. And I had my older daughter who has no signs of a murmur or anything, but I had her have an echo and that turned out fine too. I've also had my husband go get an annual physical and blood tests and the works, and he's going to go do a heart scan because he gets it now. And because I've told him, just because you're not sick doesn't mean you're healthy. And, we can't take our health for granted, and, we have to go be proactive about taking care of ourselves.
Definitely. Have you been sharing your story, and how do you share that heart disease is the number one killer currently?
Well, so this happened to me in January, and then February is the National Women's Heart, whatever it's called, Go Red for Women Month or whatever. So that was kind of exciting for me to, be able to celebrate that. And so I got all my family wearing red on that day, where everyone wears red, and, bought things from the Heart Association to support the cause. And I went to the luncheon this, I guess, May or April, and I'm planning to have my husband buy a table at the event in February, the ball. It's a tricky thing to, I don't want to just in conversation, hey, I had, open heart surgery, like, let's talk about something, but if things come up, I do mention it. And, but, I think sometimes things are still fresh for me, just not even being a year out, that it's kind of a fine line for me to talk about it in a lot of detail, but I do really care about this cause. I mean, again, I just think knowledge is power, and I just want women to know that they need to proactively take care of their heart, just like they get mammograms and go to the gynecologist for, pap smears and all that. I mean, go to a cardiologist, or, at least see your primary care doctor, because I wasn't doing that either. I would go to the gynecologist, but I didn't go to a primary doctor. Just all these things, like just not taking ownership of my health. And, so all of that has changed now,
Let's
What was I going to say? Okay, I'm Victoria. I go red for my daughters. I want to uncover the truth about heart disease because knowledge is power. playing tennis is why.
Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Well, just kind of about tennis. I mean, when I was in the hospital, I do play tennis. I started playing tennis about 2 years ago. And so when I was in the hospital, I remember thinking, like, well, when am I going to be able to start playing tennis again? And that was one of the first things I asked my surgeon after I came out of, the fog of the surgery. And he just kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? Really? And I'm like, well, do you think by March I can play? And he's like, I don't really think so. And so then I did the cardiac rehab. I did that whole, 12-week program. And again, that was like one of the first things I asked them. Well, I want to, be able to start playing tennis again by the summer, May or June. And my, trainer just kind of looked at me like, let me think about that. I don't want to take away your goals, but let me think about that. And so then she talked to all the other trainers, and she's like, we just kind of think maybe you could probably hit balls, but playing matches, probably, you're probably a long way from that. But that was my goal. Like, that was my, vision to get back to the tennis courts. That's the thing that I just love doing now. And so during rehab, I mean, it was gut-wrenching. I mean, it was so hard, and it's hard to be 42 and go into cardiac rehab with, older people. I mean, most of the people are significantly older men, and they would look at me and like, why are you here? And I'm like, well, I don't want to be here, but I almost died. I mean, it was hard. And there were so many times I just wanted to quit rehab because I just hated them looking at me, and I hated them saying, well, why are you here? And, you're too young to be here. And like all these things I knew. And, but I just kept pushing, just kept thinking about tennis, and I would run the track, and they just were like, look at that girl. Like, why is she running here? We're not supposed to run. And, but anyway, long story short, I started hitting balls back in April. So 4 months after my surgery, I was hitting balls, and I played my first match in May. And now I play, I'm the captain of my team, and I win more than I lose now. I used to lose so much more. So now I attribute my winning to my bionic heart. And so it's just like the greatest thing. I love it. And when I tell people on my team, I had open heart surgery, they just can't believe it. But then sometimes I'm like, you need to run after that ball. I had heart surgery. That's your ball. Or sure, make the heart surgery patient run over that one. But I just think it's so great to have something like I was grateful that I have that a goal to aspire to, because recovering from open heart surgery is really, really difficult. I hope I never have to do it again. And I was really lucky they could keep my valve. It looked fine. So I don't have that obstacle to overcome as well. But anyway, so I just think I'm really, I'm just blessed in that way that I can do all the things that I still love to do. The only limitation I have is I can't be a bodybuilder. So, so that's fine. I can live with that.